r/NoSleep. Posted by u/sleepyhollow_101. What to do about all these ghost hunters? When I saw the price on the house, I knew there had to be a catch. Listen, I'm not stupid. It's a 2-story Victorian house, well maintained, in a good part of town. There had to be a reason that the price was so low. There was no way the seller was making any money off of it. And, sure enough, the real estate agent that showed me around, Margie Taberworth, was expecting that question. Well, the funny thing is, people around here seem to think it's haunted. She gave me a nervous laugh, the kind that tells you that someone's uncomfortable with where the conversation's going. Naturally, I pushed on. So something awful must have happened here, then? To spur the stories. She shifted on her feet and cleared her throat. Well, that's sort of the problem. There are no stories. My left eyebrow almost hit my hairline. Pardon? The house is, to put it frankly, boring. Nothing of note has happened here. Nobody important has lived here. No deaths to speak of. No legends. Nothing. And yet people have it in their heads that it's haunted. Miss Taberworth sighed and ran a hand through her perfectly coiffed hair. It's the strangest thing. Most people won't buy the house not because they think it's haunted, but because they constantly have amateur ghost hunters knocking on the door disturbing them. Some people have no respect for private property. I'm not sure what reaction Ms. Taberworth was expecting from me, but it wasn't the one she got. I laughed. I laughed so hard I doubled over, hardly able to contain myself. Because that's just perfect, isn't it? A haunted house with no ghost, no story. I loved it. I'll take it, I said. And to prove my fortitude in the matter, I signed the papers right then and there. I thought Margie, she asked me to call her that once I asked for the paperwork, was going to have a heart attack. You see, the house was just so perfect for me. Exactly where I needed it to be and just the right size for a single woman in her 60s. And besides, some impromptu ghost hunters would certainly keep me entertained. It'd give me a reason to keep the house clean. Heaven forbid I open my house to paranormal investigators only for them to go around town telling everyone I had moldy socks under my couch. So I signed the papers, packed my belongings, and moved in as soon as I could. I was excited to start my new life in such an interesting place. It sure as hell beat a crummy apartment in NYC. For the first few weeks in my new house, I didn't have any visitors. Well, none that were out of the ordinary. I had those regular visits from new neighbors welcoming me to the neighborhood. It's quite a friendly place, and I rather enjoyed everyone I met. Every single person commented on my choice of house. It was all rather amusing to me because they seemed to tiptoe around the subject at first, as though worried they might offend me. But my amusement at my own situation seemed to relax them. A few of them told me the last family to live there had moved out after a few months. It was a young couple and their 3-year-old daughter. Apparently they couldn't handle all the attention that came with owning such a strange place. I can't really blame them. Having kids in the mix really complicates things. So time went on and I fit in rather well in the little town. It was just the kind of community I like, small and close-knit, but without an inordinate amount of nosiness and gossip. And then, one day, I had a knock at the door. It was a tall, lanky young man wearing wire-rimmed glasses. He was so nervous, it was somehow endearing. He stumbled over his words as he tried to tell me why he'd come. By the time he stuttered out something about ghosts, I was already well ahead of him. "Oh, of course, you must be one of those ghost hunters. Come in, come in." He seemed surprised. "Ah, you're sure it's okay? I'm not disturbing you?" "Not at all, not at all." I let him in and made him some coffee. I brew mine so dark it stains your guts black if you drink it often enough, and sat and chatted with him for a few minutes. Then I let him wander around the house, taking his pictures, trying his luck at contacting the dead. I wasn't worried. I don't have anything worth stealing, and anyway, he was harmless. He wouldn't hurt a flea. After that, my visitors picked up considerably. The young man must have made it known that I was friendly and open to paranormal investigators. During busy times, I'd get at least one visit a week. I enjoyed talking to all the different kinds of people who'd come by. You'd be surprised how many people like prowling around looking for ghosts. Fashionable young businesswomen and burly motorcycle gang members and surprisingly polite teenagers all made appearances. I got along so well with some of them that they visited several times, first for the ghosts, and later to chat with me to see how I was getting along. It was nice, you know. I've never regretted my decision not to marry or have children, but even so I do at times get lonely. It's nice to have so many visitors. And besides that, I'd never seen any ghosts or experienced anything strange in the house. I knew for a fact that there was nothing haunted at all about it. Still, I never told anyone that. I let them come in and decide for themselves, make up their own stories. It's much more fun that way, isn't it? Anyway, none of this ever bothered me or gave me pause. I used to rather enjoy it. And then, one day, something strange happened. It was on a Friday around 4 in the afternoon that 3 ghost hunters appeared on my front step. They were the youngest ghost hunters I'd ever had, and it's clear they'd stopped by as soon as school let out. First there was Sally Thompson from down the road, she's 9 years old. Then there was Billy Coffey, also 9, whose parents would have had a fit if they knew he was entertaining thoughts about ghosts. And along with them was another boy, just a tad smaller than the other 2, perhaps 7 or 8, named Darius. Poor dear didn't seem overly fond of that name. I'm still not entirely sure what family he belongs to. Anyway, they informed me rather proudly that they had come to look for ghosts. They'd even made themselves official ghost hunting badges from blue construction paper that they had pinned to their clothes. I was absolutely delighted. I invited them in and rummaged around until I found some candy. I didn't have anything else in the kitchen for them, as they prattled on about how they were going to be the ones to finally prove there was something haunting my house. I even brought my dad's camera, see? Said Billy. He held up the digital camera proudly. I smiled at them and told them to have fun. I'll admit that I did follow behind them, not directly so, but I tried to stay within hearing range of them at all times. Not because I was worried about them taking or breaking anything, but because I didn't want any of them to get hurt. What can I say? I'm overprotective. Plus, it would have been my problem if one of them had accidentally broken a bone or something. Kids manage to get into the funniest accidents. My hovering was interrupted by my cell phone. It ended up being somewhat important, otherwise I would have hung up and called back later, something from my agent that needed to be taken care of as soon as possible. While I talked things out on the phone with her, the children made their way through the house. I eventually heard them descending the stairs, their voices growing fainter. After another few minutes on the phone, I heard a shout from downstairs. "We're leaving." I think that was Billy. I covered the receiver on the phone and called down, "I hope you kids had fun." "We did. Thanks for letting us look around, Ms. K," called Sally. That might have been the end of it, except that little Darius piped up, his voice carrying up the stairs with remarkable clarity. "And thanks for the cookies." I froze at that, confused. I wrapped things up with my agent as quickly as possible and rushed down the stairs. The kids were already gone, but the kitchen wasn't empty. Sitting there on the table was a fresh batch of cookies, hot as though they'd just come out of the oven. Which was stone cold. I think perhaps there's something in this house after all.